Good morning, guys. Today we are going to be finishing up with Who Cloned the President. So we have chapters 9 and 10 to read. We will read those together this morning. We'll have a Google Meet so that we can discuss it. On Monday, we'll do a last minute quick review, and then you will take the AR test on Monday. So we left off with Casey and Marshall got to their apartment building with the president. Okay, so chapter 9 is called Slumber Party. We're all going to my floor, Casey told Donald in the elevator. Donald stared at the president as the elevator rose. The president grinned and whistled Yankee Doodle. Marshall yawned and scratched his mosquito bite. At the fifth floor, they all got out. Good night, Donald, the president said. Donald beamed. Good night, Mr. President, Your Highness. Casey used her key to let them into the apartment. Her mother was lying on the sofa reading a book. Catherine Christine, what are you doing here? She said. I thought you were at Marshall's. Then she noticed Marshall. Why aren't you in bed? What's going on? And then Casey's mom saw the man in the red pajamas and blue bathrobe. Mom, I'd like you to meet the president, Casey said. Mr. President, this is my mom, Lois Corcoran. The president made a little bow. Delighted, Miss Corcoran. I owe my life to your daughter and Marshall. Casey's mother stood and removed her reading glasses. She stared at the man in front of her. He was in his night clothes. He needed a shave, but he was smiling, the way he smiled in his posters. Oh my goodness, Casey's mother said, looking down at her outfit. I'm in my bathrobe. The president held out his hand. So am I, he said, so we're even. Casey scooted Lost and Found off a chair. I hope you aren't allergic to cats, she said to the president. I love 'em, he said. I have a cat in the White House for company. Then he looked at Casey's mother. May I use the phone? I need to alert the CIA that we have some scoundrels in the White House. You can use the one in the kitchen, Casey's mom said, pointing the way. While the president was gone, Casey told her mother the whole story. Spiders? Casey's mom asked. Well, it worked, Casey said. You really released spiders in the Lincoln bedroom? Her mother said, as the president walked back into the room. And I forgot to show you, here's a picture of Casey's mom meeting the president, and they're both in their bathrobes. Marshall looked up at the president. Will I get in trouble? The president laughed. Not at all. You two and those spiders are heroes. How did it happen? Casey asked the president. I mean, how did you get cloned? The president pulled up a chair. It was a very clever plan, actually, he said. A scientist named Dr. Jenks figured out a way to clone humans. He and his greedy friends spent years perfecting the process. They learned how to make an adult clone from a hair sample. That's what they did with me. Lost and Found jumped into the president's lap. They began purring. The president continued. When my clone was ready, Dr. Jenks set up a meeting to discuss his cloning ideas. I listened to what he had to say, but I told him I was against the cloning of humans. The president shook his head. We were having coffee. It was late. My staff had gone home. The last thing I remember is Dr. Jenks saying goodnight and shaking my hand. He looked at his listeners. He must have drugged my coffee and ordered the clone to give the real guards the night off. That was yesterday. I woke up this morning in the basement, dressed like this. They must have given your suit to the clone, Casey said. You looked drugged when Marsh and I first saw you. The president nodded. The drug wore off, but I pretended I was still asleep so I could listen. With me out of the way, the clone could lie to the world and announce the new cloning policy. Dr. Jenks and his team would make millions cloning humans. But that would be awful, Marshall cried. We have to stop them. Don't worry, Marshall, the president said. The CIA is on the case. While the president chatted with her mom, Casey closed her eyes and dozed off in her chair. She dreamed about Cindy Sparks announcing the news tomorrow. Local fourth-grade heroes rescue President Thornton and save the world. Chapter 10, final chapter, is called Spiders Rule. Casey peeked out the window in the Oval Office. Look, Marsh, I see Mr. Alabucky. He's in the fourth row with our class. And there's my mom and your parents. Marshall joined her at the window. Our whole school is out there. Cool! It was a week later. Casey and Marshall had received A's for their reports. To Marshall's surprise, President Hoover had collected bugs when he was a kid. But the big surprise was the phone call from the president's secretary. Casey and Marshall were invited to the White House. They were going to receive a special award for rescuing the president. The door opened and the president walked in. He was carrying 2 small jewelry boxes. We'll be going out to the lawn in a few minutes, he said. But first, I wanted to thank you two in private. Casey blushed. Marshall noticed a spider crawling down a wall. Hey, I wonder if that's one of mine, he said. The president smiled. Could be, But don't worry, it'll be safe here. I've issued a memo to all staff. Starting now, spiders are special guests in the White House. The president handed Marshall and Casey each a box. Please open them, he said. Casey lifted the fancy lid. On a layer of red velvet, she found a satin ribbon and a round gold medal. Here's Casey with the president. It's beautiful, she said. This is real gold, Marshall cried. Read what's inscribed on the medals, the president said. Casey read hers. In the circle were the words, to Casey Corcoran for bravery. She flipped her medal over. On the back was the engraving of a spider. This is so cool, Marshall said, hanging his medal around his neck. I have one, too. The president unbuttoned his suit jacket and held up his medal. Mine is just like yours, but has both your names on the front. And a spider on the back? Marshall asked. The president grinned at Marshall. Yep, a spider on the back. A man peeked in the door. Mr. President, they're ready for you outside. Casey gasped when she saw the man's face. It's the clone! The president smiled. Yes, I interviewed him when Dr. Jenks was arrested. My clone is really a nice guy. He never understood what Dr. Jenks was up to. I've decided to keep him on my staff. But won't everyone get confused? Casey asked. The president winked. That might be fine, he said. That might be fun, he said. I've always wanted to have a twin. He beckoned to the man standing by the door. By the way, he said to Casey and Marshall, we've given him a special name. The clone walked over. He proudly showed the kids his name tag. It said, Mr. Casey Marshall. Casey spelled C-A-S-E-Y, but Mr. Casey Marshall. Wow, Casey said. We have a clone named after us, Marsh. Casey Marshall smiled. I'll tell them you'll be out in a minute, sir. He left and closed the door behind him. Marshall dug a paper from his pocket. He held it out to the president. You said you'd give me your autograph, Mr. President. The president took the paper. You're right. I did promise. He walked to his desk, picked up the pen, and signed Zachary Thornton with his left hand. And that is the end of the book. Okay, so you'll have a couple questions to answer for today. And then, again, we'll review on Monday. Monday, you'll take the AR test for the book. Have a great day, guys.